Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Ever feel like you're pulled in every direction, yet getting nowhere? What if your greatest power isn't doing more, but doing less with fierce intention? Today, you'll discover the quiet discipline that separates movement from progress and distraction from destiny. Every single day, the world demands your attention from 1,000 angles. Notifications buzz, deadlines press in, people expect. It's a constant storm of noise, each demand tugging at your time, your energy, sometimes even your identity. But here's the truth. You were never meant to chase it all. You were meant to conquer what truly matters. When you focus, not just lightly, but with relentless clarity on your real mission, you awaken a level of strength that few will ever tap into. But the moment you scatter that focus, trying to do it all, you quietly surrender the very potential that was meant to set you apart. Ask yourself, will you live your life with intention? Or will you slowly fade into the chaos, pulled along by distractions disguised as obligations? The answer isn't in tomorrow. It's being shaped right now. Because in the next few moments, you'll uncover how to direct your energy with precision toward what truly matters and release everything that doesn't. Focus isn't just a mindset. It's a superpower. And in a world obsessed with speed, very few realize that moving fast and moving forward are not the same. You might be hustling, filling your calendar, pursuing goal after goal. But are you advancing toward the life you deeply desire? Or just running in circles, hoping to feel fulfilled? True focus cuts through the noise. It sharpens your effort into something that actually moves the needle in your life. Without it, even the most gifted individuals slowly burn out, their strength scattered across too many half-finished paths. But when you focus, when you choose just one mission, one passion, one direction, everything changes. You unleash a power within that few obstacles can endure. Think of a magnifying glass. Scattered light does nothing. But when concentrated, it can burn through steel. And so can you, when you finally choose what truly matters. Andrew Carnegie didn't rise to become one of the world's richest men by chasing everything. He understood a principle most ignore. He put all his eggs in one basket and then guarded that basket with relentless focus. That single-minded commitment became the foundation of an empire. But today, the world is built to pull you in the opposite direction. Notifications, obligations, opinions, each one is designed to fracture your attention. And slowly, quietly, your power fades. Not because you failed, but because you were deluded. The greatest threat to your potential is not always defeat, it's distraction. Think of the oak tree. Before it ever reaches for the sky, it sends its roots deep into the earth. It doesn't stretch itself in every direction. It chooses depth before height. Nature knows what we often forget. Greatness is not about doing more. It's about concentrating your energy with precision and purpose. Look closely at those who've achieved extraordinary things. Visionary entrepreneurs, iconic athletes, revolutionary thinkers. They didn't just work harder. They worked with clarity. They chose what to ignore. They embraced the discipline of elimination. They knew that to say yes to their mission, they had to say no to many good things. Focus isn't free. It comes with sacrifice. You won't be able to please everyone. You won't be world-class in every area. And that's okay. The moment you accept that trade-off is the moment you unlock the power to move forward with real momentum. So build systems that protect your focus like a fortress. Design your days for deep work. No interruptions, no scattering. Set boundaries that guard your energy and give your best to what matters most. Because focus isn't just a strategy. It's a lifestyle. It shows up in every part of your life. Your relationships flourish when you offer your full presence. Your health transforms when you simplify and stick to habits that move the needle. Your spirit grows stronger when you return to one consistent practice rather than chasing endless trends. And here lies the paradox. When you narrow your path, your possibilities grow. When you do less with more intent, you multiply your results. When you strip away the noise, you create space for brilliance to emerge. That is the power of focus. That is the beginning of real progress. You might be talented in many areas. You might carry within you a wide range of passions and abilities. But the real question, the one that determines your future, is this. Will you have the courage to choose what matters most and give it your full devotion? Or will you stay scattered, pulled in a dozen directions, wondering why your progress stalls while others rise? This is not just a personal dilemma. It's a defining choice, and it starts with a single, powerful word: focus. When you finally decide to direct your limited energy toward your deepest purpose, something changes. You begin to move with force, not friction. Distractions lose their grip, clarity sharpens your steps, and momentum builds in a way you never imagined possible. Suddenly, you're no longer busy, you're advancing. The world has a way of opening doors for those who walk with clear direction. But for the unfocused, those doors remain invisible. Because distraction is the silent killer of destiny. You are not created to live an average, half-hearted life. Buried beneath the noise is a mission that was placed inside you alone, a calling that no one else can fulfill. But every single day, that mission is tested by distractions, by endless news cycles, gossip with no value, and the relentless pull of trying to keep up with everyone else. Like digital sirens, they lure you in, not to destroy you quickly, but to drain you quietly. It's not that you lack ability. It's that your power is being spent in the wrong places. Every hour lost to scrolling, every conversation that pulls you away from your core, every task done just to please someone else. These are not harmless diversions. They're slow leaks in the engine of your purpose. Distraction doesn't announce itself like failure does. It doesn't break you all at once. Instead, it chips away at your potential in silence. Little by little, day by day, it pulls your attention away from what truly matters. The real danger isn't in failing to reach your dream. The greater tragedy is never even pursuing it, because your focus was consumed by everything except the one thing that mattered. So ask yourself, are you spending your energy or investing it? Think of Thomas Edison, tirelessly running experiment after experiment, failing thousands of times. But never distracted, never deterred. Think of Abraham Lincoln, standing tall in the face of immense resistance, with his unwavering determination guiding him through every trial. Think of Helen Keller, born into darkness and silence, yet choosing to break through what others would call impossible. What set these remarkable individuals apart wasn't some rare genius or superhuman strength. It was something far more accessible. They refused to let distractions dictate their days. They didn't just pursue purpose, they protected it. They built walls around their attention. They treated their time like gold, precious, guarded, non-negotiable. Now, the question turns to you. Will you do the same? Or will you continue to trade the extraordinary for the trivial? Because every time you reach for temporary comfort instead of meaningful progress, every time you scroll instead of write, delay instead of act, you're making a trade. And more often than not, it's a trade that costs you dearly. The most dangerous distractions aren't even exciting. They're subtle. They're disguised as routines, familiar patterns that keep you busy but not productive. They whisper, later, or you deserve a break, or this can wait. They sound reasonable, but over time, they pull you further and further away from the life you could have lived. Ask yourself, what would happen if you reclaimed all the energy you waste today? What could you create if you stopped leaking attention and started channeling it? Could you finally launch the business that's been living in your heart? Could you write the book that's waiting to be born through your fingertips? Could you heal relationships that once felt impossible to repair? Or take control of your health and feel truly alive again? Deep down, you already know the answer. This isn't about robotic productivity. It's not about stripping joy from your life. It's about alignment. Making sure that how you spend your time, how you use your energy, actually reflects what matters most to you. Because focus isn't just about getting things done. It's about honoring your potential. Your attention is not cheap. It is the currency of your purpose. Spend it wisely. Distraction isn't just the enemy of productivity. It's the silent assassin of destiny. It creeps in quietly, disguised as urgency, entertainment, or harmless delay. But over time, it steals the very energy meant to fuel your future. Think about it. Every breakthrough, every world-changing invention or movement came from people who fiercely protected their purpose. They didn't eliminate every distraction, but they refused to surrender to them. Right now, at this very moment, you're standing at a turning point. A crossroads. One path continues the pattern, letting your focus be pulled in a dozen directions, scattering your energy until nothing meaningful moves forward. The other path is different. It's a declaration, no more. My time is too rare to waste. My purpose is too urgent to delay. Your destiny is knocking. Will you be too distracted to hear it? Because clarity isn't a luxury, it's your lifeline. You can't chase what you haven't named. You can't hit a target that's blurry. Yet so many people drift through life, waiting for success to arrive like an unexpected guest, instead of building the roadmap to meet it. They live in the realm of someday, never realizing that vague dreams produce vague results. Let's be real. Hope is not a strategy. Wishing is not the same as doing. No matter how sincere your intentions are, without direction, you're just spinning. If you truly want a life that leaves a mark, you must get crystal clear about what matters most to you. Not what your parents expect, not what society applauds, but what you feel deep in your soul when all the noise fades away. So pause and ask yourself, what do you truly want? Not what looks good on paper, not what earns the most praise, but what genuinely fuels your spirit. What vision excites you so much that you'd fight through doubt and delay to bring it to life? That desire, that raw, authentic fire isn't random. It's your signal, your anchor, your true beginning. Name it, define it, see it, not as a blur, but as a vivid picture you can almost touch. Who must you become to bring that vision to life? Because goals, real goals, aren't just about achieving outcomes or collecting accomplishments. They're about transformation. The version of you who reaches the summit won't be the same person who first took the step. So ask yourself, what qualities must you cultivate to grow into that version? What disciplines must you commit to day in and day out? What new skills must you learn? What habits must you repeat until they shape you? And just as importantly, what limiting beliefs must you leave behind once and for all? Your vision isn't simply about upgrading your environment. It's about upgrading you. And here's the hard truth. Everything valuable demands a price. Time, energy, comfort, security, sometimes even relationships. The real question isn't whether there's a cost, because there always is. The real question is, are you willing to pay it? Many people want the result. They crave the summit, but they resist the climb. They dream about the destination, yet avoid the journey that makes it possible. They want the prize without the process. But clarity, true clarity, requires you to be brutally honest about the sacrifice. It's what turns vague wishes into structured plans, and structured plans into deliberate action. When you finally define your direction with precision, something powerful happens. Each morning no longer starts with confusion. It starts with purpose. Each decision becomes easier to navigate because it's either aligned with your vision or it isn't. The fog begins to clear. Indecision gives way to momentum. Think about this. No pyramid was ever built from a vague dream. No moon landing happened without crystal clear intent. No revolution in history was led by someone unsure of what they stood for. The legacy makers, the builders, the dreamers, they all began by defining exactly what they wanted. Then they chased it relentlessly with a focus that nothing could shake. Let your clarity be that compass. Andrew Carnegie didn't merely wish to be wealthy. He declared it with certainty. Thomas Edison didn't just hope to light up the world. He made it his mission with unwavering clarity. And Martin Luther King Jr., he didn't speak in abstract dreams. He painted a vision so vivid, so detailed, that people could see it, feel it, and believe in it. These were not passive dreamers drifting through life. They were architects of transformation, visionaries who turned clarity into world-changing action. So what about you? Will you dare to declare your vision with that same level of certainty? Or will you keep floating directionless, like a ship with no rudder? Will you keep reacting to life's demands, moving from task to task without intention? Or will you begin to live proactively, driven by a vision you've carved out, a path you've claimed as your own? Clarity doesn't just give you direction, it gives you freedom. It breaks the chains of hesitation and silences the noise of other people's expectations. It's the key to escaping the fog of confusion and stepping boldly into your purpose. And your future? It isn't waiting forever. It demands a response. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. What do you truly want? What makes your heart beat faster when you think about it? Name it. Visualize it. Declare it out loud. Because the moment you achieve that kind of clarity, you unlock something powerful. The ability to act with intention, to build the life you were born to live. Remember, success isn't about doing more. It's about doing less with purpose. Say no to 1,000 things, so you can say yes to the one thing that actually matters. In a world obsessed with hustle and packed calendars, that kind of simplicity feels radical. But true greatness doesn't come from scattered motion. It comes from focused movement. Each time you say yes to a meaningless distraction, you're quietly saying no to the life that could have been. Let that sink in. This isn't just clever wordplay. It's a fundamental truth grounded in reality. Your time, your energy, and your attention are not infinite. They are limited currencies. Every time you commit to something, you're spending a piece of those non-renewable resources. And here's the catch. When you say yes to the trivial, you are, by default, saying no to what truly matters. The people who rise to the top, who leave their mark on the world, aren't necessarily the ones with the most talent or connections. They are the ones who have the clearest priorities. They understand that excellence doesn't come from spreading themselves thin. It comes from channeling everything they have into the few things that count. Focus is not just about what you choose to pursue. It's equally about what you choose to eliminate. The most successful people in the world understand this. Saying yes to everything is a recipe for mediocrity. The ability to say no to distractions, to unaligned opportunities, to social pressure is what creates room for greatness. And yes, it's hard. We are wired for connection, programmed to seek approval, and afraid of letting others down. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, even confrontational. But ask yourself, what's the greater cost? Temporary discomfort, or a life spent chasing someone else's priorities? You owe it to your purpose to protect your time. Sometimes, the most responsible, most selfless act is choosing to honor your calling, even when it means disappointing others. Because if you say yes to everything, you will eventually give your best to nothing. Remember this powerful truth. The difference between successful people and very successful people is not ambition, it's selectivity. Very successful people say no to almost everything. Not because they're arrogant, but because they're precise. They guard their energy like treasure and understand that every yes carries a price. This isn't about being rigid or uncooperative. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that greatness demands focus. You may have the talent to do many things, but do you have the wisdom to choose only what truly matters? Sometimes, the real battle isn't between right and wrong, but between good and best. And focus, in the end, is about choosing best. The more talent and capability you possess, the more temptations you'll face. Temptations to say yes, to stretch yourself thin, to chase every promising direction. But here's the truth. Diluted focus always leads to diluted results. The real question isn't, can you do it? But should you? Just because you're capable doesn't mean it's worthy of your energy. Imagine a lasergun. Concentrated, precise, relentless. It cuts through steel because it refuses to scatter its energy. It ignores everything except its target. Now compare that to a flashlight. It lights up a room for a moment, but leaves nothing changed. Which one reflects your focus right now? Your life can have that same penetrating power, but only if you're bold enough to be selective. The discipline of elimination is not about limitation. It's about freedom. Each no you speak to the trivial makes room for the meaningful. Each distraction you decline adds fuel to your purpose. Every boundary you establish is a shield protecting the dream you've chosen to grow. So ask yourself, do you have the strength to say no 1,000 times just so you can say yes to what truly matters once? Can you resist the urge to chase every shiny opportunity so you can focus your full energy on the one that actually aligns with your vision? Will you disappoint others, if necessary, to remain loyal to your purpose? Because your highest contributions, the legacy you're meant to leave, will not come from trying to do everything. They will be born from doing the few right things with unwavering, undivided attention. Say no, not to be difficult, but to be intentional. Say no, so your yes has weight. In a world addicted to noise and movement, the stillness of focus becomes your superpower. Inertia flows where attention goes. What you choose to feed is what will grow. And what you consistently neglect, that will wither away. This is not just a motivational concept. It's a natural law. You see in gardens. You see in relationships. You see in skills. And most of all, you see in the soil of your own mind. Your thoughts are not just passive reflections of the world around you. They are powerful architects of your reality. Every belief you reinforce, every mental image you return to, every internal dialogue you entertain. These are not idle habits. They are active builders of the life you experience. Your mind is fertile soil, and every thought you plant is a seed. What you choose to water will inevitably grow. Each time you focus on a particular idea, a worry, or a hope, you're feeding it. You're giving it the nutrients of attention, the sunlight of emotional energy, and the time it needs to take root. Nothing in the landscape of your mind remains unchanged. It either expands into strength or shrivels into insignificance based on your attention. Focus your thoughts on problems, and you'll watch those problems multiply. What once seemed like a small challenge slowly evolves into something overwhelming. The more you dwell on it, the more intimidating it becomes, as if your worry itself is giving the obstacle new life and sharper teeth. Your mental energy, unknowingly, becomes the fuel that feeds your frustration. But shift your focus toward possibilities, and something incredible begins to happen. New ideas spark. Unexpected solutions appear. Connections form between things you once thought were unrelated. You stop seeing only what's missing and start noticing what might be possible. Suddenly, your vision expands. What once looked like a dead end becomes a detour to something better. This isn't blind optimism. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is fine. This is a principle deeper than positive thinking. It's the creative force of focused attention. Your sustained focus has the power to shape outcomes. It doesn't deny difficulties. It transforms how you engage with them. Where your consistent attention goes, your energy flows. And where that energy flows long enough, something begins to form. Something real, something substantial. It becomes the life you live. When Thomas Edison faced failure after failure, thousands of them, he didn't dwell on defeat. He didn't feed discouragement. Instead, he focused on progress, on the fact that each failure brought him one step closer to breakthrough. "I have not failed," Thomas Edison once famously said. "I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That wasn't just clever wordplay. It was a strategic shift in perspective. It was a conscious redirection of focus, away from defeat and toward discovery. It kept his spirit energized and his mind clear for the breakthrough that would eventually change the world. Every setback became not a stopping point, but a stepping stone. This mindset, the ability to maintain focus on progress despite persistent setbacks, is the silent engine behind every major innovation, every healing breakthrough, every world-changing movement. Consider Marie Curie. In the face of repeated experimental failures, she chose not to dwell on what was going wrong. Instead, she anchored her attention on the possibilities that radioactivity held, possibilities the rest of the world couldn't yet see. Her focus, sustained through adversity, became the fuel behind her scientific legacy. The great ones understand something that many overlook. Your sustained attention doesn't just shape your emotional state, it builds your momentum. It determines whether you stop or keep going, whether you give up or find another way. So what about you? When adversity appears, when life throws boulders into your path, where will your eyes go? Will you fixate on the obstacle, or will you scan the horizon for the next step? Will your energy spiral around what's blocking you, or will it gather around the way forward? Both the problem and the possibility exist in the same moment, but only one should hold your focus. Will you allow yourself to be paralyzed by the barrier? Or will you seek the breakthrough that may be hidden just behind it? Every challenge holds within it the seeds of something greater. But those seeds only grow when nurtured by the light of your full awareness. The closed door is often only closed to the distracted. The focused mind sees the handle, the key, or the window left slightly ajar. What you give your attention to today will shape the reality you live in tomorrow. Focus isn't just a mental habit. It's the most powerful tool you possess to shape your life. It's your compass, your engine, your chisel, carving out how you experience the world. Use it wisely. Use it intentionally. Use it like your future depends on it, because it does. History doesn't remember the hesitant. It remembers those who, upon reaching enemy shores, burned their ships, not because they were reckless, but because they were all in. In 1519, the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés made a bold decision. After landing on the shores of Mexico, he ordered his ships to be burned. There would be no retreat. Similarly, when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he did so knowing full well there would be no return, only victory or ruin. These men understood something profound. When there is no path backward, the only direction left is forward. When you eliminate the option of retreat, the human spirit taps into a depth of resilience it never knew existed. Desperation often sparks innovation. Necessity fuels an uncommon kind of courage, the kind that shows up when failure is not an option. So ask yourself, what bridges do you still need to burn? These bridges aren't always physical. Sometimes they're internal, quiet, comfortable lifelines that keep you tethered to the familiar. The backup career you keep just in case. The relationship you don't fully believe in but haven't let go. The habits you cling to, not because they serve you, but because they're safe. These aren't just decisions, they're distractions. Each one splits your focus and silently whispers, "I'm not fully committed." And here's the truth. As long as you're holding onto a safety net, you'll never fly. As long as you keep the door cracked open to mediocrity, you'll never walk boldly into excellence. You must stop merely trying and start deciding. The word try sounds noble, but it often disguises hesitation. Trying leaves room for retreat, for excuses, for explanations when things don't work out. But deciding? True. Unwavering decision? That's where transformation begins. That's when you activate parts of yourself that have been waiting for your full permission to rise. Think of Alexander the Great. He didn't conquer the known world because he was the strongest warrior. He wasn't the biggest or the fastest. He was the most committed. When faced with the legendary Gordian knot, a riddle that had baffled many, he didn't waste time trying to untie it. He took his sword and sliced through it. That act of decisive clarity mirrored how he approached everything. With absolute conviction, no hesitation, no second guessing. This is your Gordian knot moment. Will you hesitate, or will you decide? He was direct, resolute, and utterly free from hesitation. Alexander didn't try to conquer the world. He decided to. There's a sharp distinction between effort and decision, and he made it clear through his actions. The moment of burning bridges isn't about recklessness or blind courage. It comes only after a thoughtful, deliberate evaluation, after you've measured the cost and determined that the goal is worth every ounce of your effort. But once that decision is made, once the path has been chosen, half measures become the enemy. In this space, hesitation is lethal. Because while total commitment doesn't guarantee success, the absence of commitment almost always guarantees failure. So ask yourself honestly, are you truly all in? Are you willing to eliminate the safety nets that keep you playing small, the fallback plans that silently drain your determination? Can you pinpoint the comfortable routines, the backup paths, the just-in-case options that are quietly sabotaging your main objective? Imagine what would happen if you face your highest goal as if there were no retreat, no alternate route, no plan B. Would you show up with more intensity? Would you work with greater urgency, with deeper belief? Or would you keep telling yourself that playing it safe is the wiser route, when deep down, it's fear that's disguised as prudence? There's a crucial difference between strategic caution and emotional self-protection. One helps you prepare, the other keeps you stuck. And the greatest regrets people carry through life rarely stem from giving something their whole heart and failing. More often, they come from holding back, try instead of deciding, keeping one foot on the dock while claiming to sail into the unknown. Those unburned bridges might offer short-term comfort, but they exact a long-term cost. The quiet decay of your potential, the silent burial of dreams that were never given a real chance to live. Burn your bridges not out of anger, but out of conviction. Not out of fear, but out of full-hearted decision. Make it so that there's no path but the one you've chosen. No option but to give it everything. And in doing so, you'll find that the flames of those bridges, far from trapping you, illuminate your path with greater clarity than any flickering candle of caution ever could. This is how you reclaim your power. This is how you become a master of your time. Time is the most precious currency of life. And every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're either investing it or wasting it. Unlike money, which can be lost and earned back, time moves in only one direction. Once it's gone for good. No refunds, no rewinds, no second chances. Every person on this planet, regardless of wealth, status, or background, receives the same 24 hours. Not a second more for the billionaire, not a second less for the beggar. Time is the great equalizer, and that makes how you use it the ultimate difference between a life of regret and a life of fulfillment. Focused individuals don't simply find time, they make time. They understand that meaningful progress doesn't happen by accident. It requires intention. Time doesn't magically free itself for important work. It must be claimed, carved out, and fiercely protected. While many people complain about their overflowing schedules, those who master time design theirs with precision. They don't wait for the perfect moment because they know it doesn't exist. They create it. They craft boundaries that may seem extreme to others. They say no to dinners, parties, distractions, not because they don't care, but because they care deeply about what matters most. They understand that every yes to something meaningless is a silent no to something vital. This is not selfishness. It's stewardship. It's honoring the gift of time by using it intentionally. Every minute spent on a trivial task or meaningless distraction isn't just wasted. It's stolen from your future. That future you dream about, it's being written minute by the choices you're making now. The masters of time know this truth. What screams for your attention isn't always what deserves it. They distinguish between what's urgent and what's truly important. The buzzing phone, the blinking notification, the last-minute request, these are the loud demands. But the quiet, meaningful work, that's where transformation lives. Benjamin Franklin captured this truth simply and powerfully. Lost time is never found again. He lived by it. His days were filled with deliberate, intentional structure, not to restrict his freedom, but to create it. Because when you decide in advance how your hours will be spent, you free yourself from the chaos of in-the-moment decisions, the kind that usually favor comfort over growth. Your time is your life. Will you design it or drift through it? You cannot expect to live a focused, purpose-driven life if your schedule is owned by everyone but you. When your calendar is dictated by other people's priorities, your own purpose begins to fade. When your attention is constantly hijacked by notifications, interruptions, or urgent requests, your ability to concentrate fractures into pieces. And when you treat every incoming demand as if it's an emergency, the work that matters most, the work only you can do, remains perpetually unfinished. The most successful individuals across every domain, business, art, science, leadership, share a powerful habit. They don't just manage their time, they own it. They don't drift through their days responding to everything that pops up. They design their days with clear intent. They recognize that living reactively guarantees mediocrity, while living proactively creates a path toward mastery. So ask yourself, who's really in control of your time today? Is it you? Or is it the distractions you've allowed in? Are you intentionally shaping your hours? Or have you handed that power over to the loudest voices around you? Do you wake up each morning with a clear sense of what matters? Or do you let circumstances, inboxes, and notifications dictate your direction? The answers to these questions don't just reflect how you manage your time. They reveal how you manage your life. Now imagine what would happen if you began treating your time as your most sacred asset. What would shift if you guarded your focus as fiercely as you guard your money? If you invested your hours with the same wisdom and discernment that you use to invest your finances? The transformation would reach far beyond your productivity. You begin to feel it in your relationships, in your physical and mental health, in the depth of your learning, and in the impact you leave behind. Because when you protect your time, you protect your potential. And from that place, everything begins to change. Mastering your time doesn't begin with a planner or a calendar app. It begins with a single, powerful question. Is this the best use of my time right now? Ask yourself that question often. Ask it during moments of routine, during moments of distraction, even in moments that feel productive but might not be purposeful. This question becomes your internal compass. It quietly redirects you from distraction back to purpose. It challenges your comfortable routines and shines a light on the unconscious ways you waste precious minutes. It strips away illusion and asks for truth. Truth about what really matters to you and what doesn't. Because time will move on, with or without your permission. The hours will pass, whether you're deliberate with them or not. The real question isn't whether you'll spend your time. You will. The deeper question is this. When your life reaches its final chapter, will you look back on time well invested or time merely spent? To master your time is to master your direction, your impact, your legacy. Everything else begins to align once that mastery takes root. And yet, there's a subtle trap most never notice, the trap of the good. Beware the good, because often the good is the enemy of the great. This paradox lies at the core of extraordinary achievement. You see, mediocrity is easy to spot. It's uninspired, unambitious, easy to reject. But the good? That's trickier. The good job, the good routine, the good life. It offers comfort, stability, even admiration, but also lulls you. It satisfies just enough to keep you from reaching for more. It gives you just enough comfort to avoid risk, just enough validation to silence the voice inside whispering, there's more. Good can quietly become a golden cage, safe, respectable, and slowly stifling. And here's the hardest part. The good isn't failure. It's success, but with limits. It's achievement that comes with invisible boundaries. It's a plateau disguised as a peak. And if you're not careful, it can numb you to the very discomfort that leads to your next breakthrough. Deep down, you already know it. You weren't made for just enough. You were made for excellence, for depth, for greatness. There's a reason why good enough starts to feel empty as time goes on. That subtle restlessness inside you. It isn't ingratitude. It's not a lack of appreciation. It's your spirit speaking. It's the whisper of your higher self, gently but persistently pointing to the gap between what is and what could be. It's the quiet rebellion of your potential, refusing to be soothed by mediocrity wrapped in comfort. Focus demands a courageous trade, the sacrifice of the good for the pursuit of the extraordinary. And let's be honest, this might be the hardest sacrifice of all. Saying no to things that are clearly toxic or destructive. That's easy, but saying no to what's actually working, to what's good but not great, that requires uncommon clarity and inner strength. It takes the vision to see past short-term validation and fix your eyes on long-term elevation. True focus means having the discipline to walk away from things you enjoy, to decline paths that might succeed, so you can pursue the few that are destined to transform. That's the real test. The highest performers in the world don't chase every appealing possibility. They aren't seduced by every shiny opportunity. Instead, they develop a kind of superhuman selectivity. They understand something most overlook. Excellence is born not from activity, but from intentionality. And intentionality requires elimination. Mozart didn't divide his energy between composing and dabbling in painting. He went all in. Marie Curie didn't dilute her brilliance across scattered disciplines. She focused, refined, and pursued a singular domain until she transformed it. You will encounter many good options in your journey. Doors will open. Applause will tempt. But will you have the strength to wait for the door that leads to greatness? Will you pause long enough to hear which opportunity echoes your purpose? Not just your ego. Because in a culture that glorifies speed and rewards instant gratification, patience isn't just a virtue. It's a revolutionary act of power. The courage to turn down good offers while waiting for what aligns with your highest calling. It's becoming a rare strength. But let's be clear, this kind of patience isn't passive. It's not idly standing by, hoping. It's an active, intentional process, the deliberate cultivation of discernment. It's asking yourself, will I trade what's easy and immediate for what's meaningful and lasting? Will you have the strength to give up the applause that comes from living up to others' expectations in order to follow a path that resonates with your deepest truth? Because that path, the one that truly leads to greatness, rarely travels where the crowd walks. More often, it winds through quiet valleys of uncertainty, criticism, and doubt before it ascends to higher ground. And here's a deeper danger. Don't get trapped by your own success. What once elevated you can quietly begin to limit you if you're not careful. Yesterday's wins can become today's ceiling. The strategies that once worked, the habits that once served you, they may no longer be the keys to your next level. True growth requires evolution. And sometimes that means letting go of the very things that made you successful in the first place. Because the world doesn't just need more people doing good things reasonably well. It needs people who have discovered the rare intersection of passion, purpose, and capability. And who are bold enough to pursue it with unwavering focus. It needs individuals who are willing to refine their talent into its sharpest, purest form, rather than letting it scatter across too many pretty good options. Because the difference between good and great isn't always measured by talent. Often, it's measured by courage. The courage to walk past the tempting, the convenient, and the safe. It's the inner resolve to keep climbing, even when others don't understand your path. Even when the summit isn't yet in view. It takes uncommon strength to live with temporary unfulfillment while preparing for something far more aligned with your highest potential. That kind of waiting isn't weakness, it's wisdom. But be warned, sometimes good is the very thing that blinds you from great. The comfort of good enough can slowly dull the urgency of your calling. And here's the turning point. Focus alone isn't enough. Focus without a foundation is just stubbornness. It becomes mindless persistence, energy poured into directionless movement. Like a powerful engine stuck in neutral, you burn fuel but never go anywhere meaningful. That's the danger of mistaking concentration for purpose-driven focus. True focus doesn't just narrow your vision, it deepens your reason. It asks not only what you're doing, but why. Because it's your why that transforms discipline from a heavy burden into a source of pride. It's what turns commitment into joy and effort into something sacred. Without purpose, your focus is fragile, easily broken by setbacks and distractions. But when your focus is anchored to something greater than yourself, something that aligns with your deepest values and convictions, it becomes a force that refuses to fade. You tap into strength you never knew you had. You discover resilience that lies dormant in shallow pursuits. That's when your journey changes. The long hours, the failures, the quiet struggles, they stop feeling meaningless. They become proof that you're walking a path that matters. Because the road to anything worthwhile always passes through valleys of doubt, fatigue, and moments that feel like failure. And no motivational slogan can carry you through that kind of darkness. Only one thing can: purpose. A purpose so deeply rooted that it speaks not to your ambition, but to your soul. Viktor Frankl, who endured the unspeakable horrors of Nazi concentration camps, wrote that those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Let that truth settle in. The clarity of your purpose isn't just motivation, it's survival. It's the flame that lights the way when every other light goes out. As a psychiatrist enduring the unspeakable horrors of Nazi death camps, Viktor Frankl discovered a profound truth. Survival wasn't reserved for the physically strongest. It belonged to those who had a reason, something to live for beyond the suffering. He saw that those who withstood unimaginable pain and loss weren't merely resilient. They were anchored by purpose. Whether it was the hope of seeing a loved one again, the desire to complete unfinished work, or the deep responsibility to bear witness to the suffering of others, their focus was never random. It was rooted in something far greater than themselves. This wasn't just intense concentration. It was focus fused with meaning. And that fusion, purpose-driven focus, is what separates endurance from collapse, greatness from mediocrity. Look at the towering achievements of history, and you'll find the same pattern. The Wright brothers didn't keep trying to fly because failure didn't hurt. They kept going because their dream of human flight lifted them above those failures. Their setbacks weren't dead ends. They were stepping stones toward a vision that transcended doubt. Mother Teresa didn't devote her life to the forgotten and dying of Kolkata because it was easy. She did it because her actions flowed from a spiritual mission that no discouragement could touch. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't march through threats, jail cells, and opposition because he craved attention. He walked forward with unwavering resolve because he was focused on a dream bigger than comfort, bigger than safety, even bigger than his own lifetime. So now the question comes to you: what is your why? What calling tugs at your heart beneath the noise of constant notifications and shallow distractions? What mission would you pursue even if no one ever applauded, even if no prize or praise ever followed? These are not abstract musings. They're the foundation of sustainable focus. Without them, your energy will scatter, chasing urgency instead of importance, reacting to noise instead of responding to purpose. But when your vision is clear and your why burns deep enough, quitting becomes impossible. Setbacks become detours, not dead ends. Delays become tests, not definitions. So ask yourself, what is the fire you would follow even in the dark? Is it to build something timeless? To solve a problem that touches millions? To live in such a way that your life echoes long after it ends? Find that, name it, and never look away. Mastering a craft to its highest expression. Healing the relationships that matter most. The specific form your purpose takes is not as important as its authenticity. It must feel like it belongs to you, rooted in the unique combination of your values, talents, life experiences, and convictions. Until that clarity arrives, you will feel uncertain. You'll hesitate when faced with tough decisions, remain exposed to distractions, and find yourself giving up too soon when the journey becomes difficult. Without the gravitational pull of a clear purpose, your focus will drift like a satellite without a fixed orbit. It may be sophisticated, full of potential, even capable of brilliance. But without direction, it becomes lost in endless space, circling without meaning or destination. But once you find your purpose, once you know why you're doing what you're doing, everything changes. Not because your challenges disappear. They won't. Not because the road becomes smooth. It rarely does. You become unstoppable not because the path is easy, but because you've chosen it with intention. Obstacles take on a new meaning. They stop being threats and start becoming proof of your devotion, evidence that you're pursuing something worthy. What once seemed like a reason to give up now becomes a chance to reaffirm your commitment. Every setback becomes part of the story you're meant to write. Purpose doesn't just power focus. It sharpens it. It filters your attention, helping you see clearly what aligns and what doesn't. It gives you a powerful lens through which to evaluate your choices, whether that's a new opportunity, a difficult relationship, or a tempting distraction. It becomes the standard that helps you say, with confidence, this matters. That doesn't. It's the answer to one of life's most important questions. Why this and not something else? When you discover your purpose, your focus becomes inevitable. It doesn't have to be forced, it flows. Sustained attention stops being a struggle and becomes a natural response to something deeply meaningful. Without purpose, focus is just a productivity trick. But with purpose, it transforms into a force strong enough to reshape your priorities, redefine your life, and maybe even touch the world around you. Guard your mind with unwavering vigilance. Think about it. Would you ever leave your front door wide open, inviting strangers to walk in, rummage through your belongings, and destroy what they please? Of course not. You'd lock it, set up security systems, and stay alert to any potential threat. Yet, how often do we neglect to protect the most valuable space we own, our minds? Too often we allow doubt, fear, and negativity to slip in unchallenged. Toxic thoughts and influences drift into our mental space like thieves in the night, stealing our clarity, draining our confidence, and slowly eroding our focus. These intrusions may not make a sound, but their impact is deafening. Focus isn't just about what you direct your attention toward. It's also about what you fiercely protect it from. Your mind is your command center. It's the source from which every action, every decision, and every breakthrough emerges. When it's overwhelmed by noise, clarity fades. When it's saturated with limiting beliefs, even your greatest potential remains dormant. That's why guarding your mental environment isn't just important. It's essential to everything you hope to build. The people around you, do they fuel your fire or extinguish your spark? The subtle exchanges, the shared conversations, the quiet attitudes, they shape your inner narrative far more than you might realize. Surround yourself with those who challenge you to rise, not those who reinforce your excuses. Are they lifting your standards or lowering your focus to fit theirs? And what about the content you consume? Every book you read, every podcast you hear, every video you watch, these are not passive inputs. They are mental blueprints. They rewire your thinking, word by word, idea by idea. Are you feeding your mind with wisdom from those who lived with vision and purpose? Or are you letting in noise from voices that confuse and distract? Guard your mind like everything depends on it, because it truly does. The strength of your focus will never exceed the quality of your mental environment. Keep it clear, keep it clean, and most of all, keep it committed to what matters most. Each influence you allow into your mind leaves a lasting imprint. Like software updates on a device, they install new beliefs, shift perspectives, open up possibilities. Or worse, reinforce outdated limitations that quietly shape your future. The question is, what are you feeding your mind today? Are you nourishing it with wisdom that stretches your thinking and inspires growth? Or are you consuming mental junk food? Content that comforts but leave you stuck in the same place? The media you engage with doesn't knock on the door for permission. It walks straight into your awareness. Every headline you skim, every image you scroll past, every storyline you absorb, they all seep into your consciousness and slowly sculpt your worldview. They inform what you believe is possible, what you consider valuable, and even what you accept as truth. In an era flooded with content engineered to manipulate attention rather than enrich lives, guarding your mental intake isn't a luxury, it's survival. Your media diet has the power to either fuel your ambition or drain your drive. Ask yourself, does what you consume lift your gaze toward higher purpose, or does it pull you downward into distraction and discouragement? These daily inputs aren't neutral. They mold your focus. They decide what gets your attention, what keeps it, and how that attention shapes your actions. Your goals, no matter how clear, will either flourish or fade based on the mental soil they're planted in. No focus technique, no matter how advanced, can compensate for a mental environment filled with noise, fear, or mediocrity. So take a moment. Who's influencing your focus right now? Is it echoes from your past telling you what you can't achieve? The constant buzz of headlines crafted to provoke outrage and anxiety? The polished snapshots of others' lives tempting you into comparison and quiet dissatisfaction? Or is it the voice of your higher self, magnified by mentors, books, and teachings that challenge and uplift you? Are your influences sharpening your purpose or blurring your vision? Do they nudge you toward growth or lull you into comfort? Do they broaden your horizon or fence in your potential with invisible walls? Your clarity depends on your choices. Choose your influences as if your future depends on them, because it does. This isn't about blind optimism or pretending everything is fine. It's not about ignoring reality with a smile and forced positivity. It's about something far more strategic, intentionally curating what enters your consciousness. Because in a world where every platform, every headline, every device is designed to hijack your attention, letting everything in means standing for nothing. It means becoming mentally passive, open to every influence, every distraction, every voice, whether helpful or harmful. Guarding your mind isn't easy. It takes real courage. The courage to unplug, to say no, to step back from people, conversations, and environments that don't align with your highest aspirations. Sometimes, that even means distancing yourself from those you care about, when their influence steers you away from your purpose rather than toward it. It demands discipline, not just around how you spend your hours, but how you spend your focus. Your attention is your most valuable asset, far too precious to leave unguarded. Your dreams, your goals, your purpose, all of it can be slowly eroded if you allow doubt, fear, negativity, or mediocrity to creep in through unfiltered mental access. Why would you protect your home, your money, your devices, and yet leave your mind wide open? Your mind is your inner sanctuary. Guard it fiercely, not with fear, but with purpose. Not with isolation, but with discernment. Do it unapologetically, because your greatest potential deserves nothing less. And here's the truth. Discipline is not punishment. It's love in its highest form. It's the daily declaration that you believe in your future. Every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you resist the urge to scroll, to quit, to give in to the easy way out, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Discipline whispers, I care about who you're becoming. Most people chase comfort today and meet regret tomorrow. But not you. You have the power to choose differently. You can choose to endure the small discomfort of discipline now, or the far greater pain of missed potential later. Picture a stone cutter hammering away a solid rock. The first strike shows no visible change. Neither does the second, nor the third. But he keeps going. Strike after strike, blow after blow. The stone remains seemingly unmoved, until suddenly, with one final swing, it splits. But persistence, fueled by quiet, consistent discipline, is what eventually splits the stone. It's not the final strike alone that causes the breakthrough, but every single one that came before it. The question is, will you honor the future champion already living inside you, waiting to be revealed? Or will you trade your dreams for the fleeting comfort of distraction and delay? Discipline, in its deepest form, is time travel. Every intentional action you take today is a gift you send into your own future. That hour spent in focused work rather than scrolling, that nutritious meal chosen over convenience, that workout you pushed through even when motivation was nowhere to be found. Each of these is a small, powerful package of potential waiting to be unwrapped by your future self. And that self will either thank you or wish you had done more. Discipline speaks in the language of habits. It doesn't shout. It doesn't impress in the moment. But over time, it whispers results. Small, deliberate choices compounded over days and weeks become monumental outcomes. The writer who shows up to the page every morning, even when the words come slowly, eventually fills bookshelves. The entrepreneur who dedicates focused time to learning and strategy eventually turns ideas into impact. The artist who practices their craft with intention transforms raw passion into timeless brilliance. Ironically, discipline, so often misunderstood as restrictive, is what actually creates true freedom. Freedom to choose your path, to protect your focus, to build a life aligned with what matters most. When you draw boundaries around your energy and time, you're not limiting yourself. You're clearing space for what's essential. By saying no to the distractions that clamor for your attention, you make room to say yes to the work, the relationships, and the growth that truly move you forward. So when temptation knocks, when your mind whispers, "Just rest today, it's no big deal," pause and ask yourself, will this choice serve the person I'm becoming? Discomfort is temporary, but regret, it lingers. The fleeting rush of procrastination fades quickly, but the quiet, lasting satisfaction of finishing what you started, of honoring your purpose, that endures. Remember, self-discipline isn't about being flawless. It's about being resilient. You'll have off days. You will slip. You will feel tired. But what defines you isn't perfection. It's how quickly you get back up, how fiercely you return to the path, and how committed you are to walking it all the way to the end. Champions aren't defined by perfection. They're not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who rise again and again, with renewed clarity, stronger resolve, and a deeper connection to their purpose after every stumble. It's not about never being knocked down. It's about how quickly and how powerfully you get back up. Your future self is watching the choices you make today, the habits you build, the distractions you resist, the effort you invest. These are writing the script of the life you'll live tomorrow. Will you be the hero in your story, the one who chose growth over comfort? Or will you remain the victim of your circumstances, drifting wherever life pushes you? Each decision tells a story. Will you trade tomorrow's fulfillment for the fleeting comfort of today? Or will you embrace the discomfort of growth to unlock the rewards only discipline can deliver? Discipline is the bridge between potential and reality. It takes dreams off the vision board and places them into the world. It doesn't just change outcomes. It transforms identities. It's how ordinary people leave behind extraordinary legacies. The choice has always been yours. You can embrace the challenge of discipline, choosing consistency over convenience, and send a powerful message of self-respect to your future self. Or you can yield to distraction and send a silent signal that your dreams weren't worth the effort. Either way, your future is shaped by today's decisions. What kind of future are you building? One that fills you with pride and purpose, or one filled with regret and questions that begin with what if? And now, shift your focus to something just as powerful as discipline, your environment. Because even the strongest seed cannot thrive in toxic soil. Your surroundings either sharpen your edge or dull your drive. You cannot expect to plant roses in concrete and watch them flourish. No matter how resilient the flower, the ground matters. Your environment must feed your focus, not drain it. It must support your ambition, not suffocate it. Every relationship you maintain, every conversation you entertain, every space you inhabit, they're either pulling you closer to your mission or quietly pulling you away from it. The influence is often subtle, but over time, it's profound. No one rises alone. Success is not just built by effort. It's supported by atmosphere. Now pause for a moment and truly consider your current environment. Look around and ask yourself honestly, are you surrounded by people who uplift your vision? Those who value growth, embrace discipline, and strive for excellence? Or are you quietly being pulled down by a culture of mediocrity, comfort, and fear? Your focus, no matter how strong, is fragile. It must be protected with intention. It doesn't thrive in chaos or survive in toxicity. It withers when exposed to environments that question its worth, that mock ambition, or that glorify playing small. You cannot expect to soar like an eagle while nesting with pigeons. That's not just a metaphor. It's a truth that echoes through every great achievement in history. So ask yourself, what kind of environment are you choosing to grow your dreams in? One of the most persistent illusions in the world of personal growth is the belief that sheer willpower is enough to create lasting success. But the truth is more nuanced. Willpower, as powerful as it may seem, is limited. It fatigues. It wanes in the face of constant resistance. It can be overwhelmed by an environment that pulls in the opposite direction. The wise don't rely solely on determination. They design for it. They construct their surroundings to work with them, not against them. Environmental design trumps willpower every single time. When you shape your space with intention, you create a steady current that nudges you forward. Even on the days you feel tired or uninspired, your environment becomes an invisible partner in your progress. And don't overlook the whispers of your physical space. Clutter isn't harmless. It murmurs confusion and stress to your subconscious. A disorganized room breeds scattered thoughts. On the other hand, a workspace built to spark creativity, a home arranged for peace and restoration, a kitchen set up for healthy choices. These aren't luxuries. They're the foundation of sustainable excellence. But the most influential environment of all, your social circle. The people you interact with daily have an outsized effect on your trajectory. The 5 individuals you spend the most time with, whether friends, coworkers, or even digital voices, shape your standards, stretch your imagination, or quietly reinforce your limits. Their expectations become the ceiling you either accept or outgrow. Their fears can become the invisible fences that stop you from stepping into the unknown. Or their courage can become the fire that fuels your next leap. Choose wisely. Your future is growing in the soil you're standing in right now. Environments don't often shout. They whisper. Their influence isn't usually loud or obvious, but persistent and powerful, like water gradually carving through stone. Day by day, the spaces you live in and the people you engage with shape your thoughts, mold your emotional reflexes, and program your default behaviors. That shaping might feel subtle in the moment, but over time, it becomes the difference between growth and decline. Think about it. How many brilliant minds have been slowly suffocated by environments that mocked their ambition instead of nurturing it? How many creative souls have had their fire dimmed by voices preaching practicality over possibility? How many visionaries have abandoned bold dreams because their ideas were met with skepticism, not support? That's the quiet tragedy of potential wasted, not from lack of talent, but from being planted in toxic soil. Sometimes, true transformation demands more than willpower. It demands transplantation. One of the most courageous acts a person can take is choosing to remove themselves from familiar, yet limiting environments and replant where their growth becomes not just possible, but inevitable. But designing a growth-friendly environment doesn't just mean running from the bad. It means curating the good. It's a conscious process of both subtraction and addition. What voices in your life need turning up? Who inspires you, challenges you, and reminds you of what's possible? Equally important, what influences need muting or removing altogether? Who consistently drains your energy, doubts your vision, or distracts you from your purpose? This isn't about cutting people off in bitterness. It's about choosing alignment over attachment. It's about recognizing that the company you keep, the spaces you inhabit, and the rituals you follow either energize your mission or erode it. The environment you immerse yourself in today is sculpting the person you're becoming tomorrow. It's never neutral. It either strengthens your focus or sabotages it. It either sharpens your edge or dulls your drive. So choose intentionally. Surround yourself with mentors who've already traveled the road you aim to walk. Fill your daily spaces with symbols that remind you of your aspirations. Establish small rituals, morning routines, study spaces, moments of reflection that reinforce who you are becoming. In the battle for your focus, your environment is either your fiercest enemy or your strongest ally. And the choice, ultimately, is yours. Because even the strongest seed cannot grow if planted in toxic soil. It's not a question of whether your environment is shaping you. It is. The only real question is whether it's shaping you by conscious intention or by passive default. Are you engineering your surroundings to support your potential? Or are you unknowingly letting them dictate your direction? Your future self, stronger, wiser, more fulfilled, is waiting for your answer. And make no mistake, greatness isn't built in grand gestures. It's forged in the invisible, often overlooked choices you make each day. Skipping a single workout, pushing off that important project one more time, scrolling through another hour of mindless content. These moments feel insignificant on their own, almost harmless. But over time, they add up, and what they add up to becomes your life. Focused individuals understand something that many overlook. Tiny wins, when repeated, create massive momentum. Like a single drop of water that, over time, carve through solid rock. It's the daily, disciplined actions that shape the mountains of achievement. Small victories, doing the hard thing even when no one's watching, showing up consistently, saying no when it's easier to say yes. These are the seeds of lasting success. Ask yourself honestly, are your daily habits compounding into small wins that build your future? Or are they quietly leading you away from what matters most? Because success doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. It demands that you keep going, even when motivation fades and results seem far away. Will you choose the daily disciplines that, one day, will make you unstoppable? Human nature often longs for dramatic change. We crave the breakthrough moment, the overnight success, the life-altering revelation. But the truth is, transformation is rarely cinematic. It unfolds quietly, beneath the surface, through slow and steady progress. Mastery is not built in the spotlight. It's forged in the shadows, in the mundane, in the repetition most people avoid. The author who commits to writing just 100 words a day eventually finishes a novel, while others are still waiting for inspiration to strike. The investor who steadily sets aside modest amounts builds wealth, while others gamble on the next big thing. The athlete who shows up to train day after day eventually outpaces more naturally talented competitors who lack consistency. The challenge, of course, is emotional. The discomfort of effort is felt immediately, but the reward of discipline, that takes time. And in a world addicted to instant gratification, patience feels like a radical act. But that's where the transformation lives. In choosing consistency when no one is cheering, and believing in the power of slow, steady, focused progress. The pleasure of procrastination is seductively immediate, while its true cost arrives quietly, often too late to notice, until it's already taken its toll. Champions, however, develop something rare, the ability to override this natural human tendency. They learn to choose based on the long-term value of a decision, not the short-term comfort it may offer. This isn't about having superhuman willpower. It's about mastering one simple idea. Consistency beats intensity. A small daily win may seem insignificant, but repeated over time, it builds powerful psychological momentum. Suddenly, the things that once required effort become automatic. Tasks that once drained your willpower become second nature, freeing your mind to take on greater challenges. This is how everyday people achieve what once seemed impossible. Not through bursts of massive effort, but by performing ordinary actions with extraordinary regularity. The true quality of your life is a reflection of the quality of your habits. Every small choice, reading instead of scrolling, creating instead of consuming, focusing instead of multitasking, is a quiet vote for the future version of yourself you're trying to build. And these votes, they accumulate. Over time, they construct an identity, an internal belief system that makes future disciplined decisions not only easier, but almost automatic. You're no longer forcing discipline. You become it. Still, understand this. Progression is never linear. Growth isn't a staircase. It's a mountain trail filled with switchbacks, loose rocks, and sudden drops. Even the most focused individuals stumble. But what sets them apart is not a flawless record. It's how quickly they course correct. The missed workout becomes motivation for tomorrow. The uninspired day becomes a prompt to refine your process. The setback becomes part of the setup. And often, the real danger lies not in the dramatic moments of failure, but in the quiet ones, the subtle compromises. The decision to delay just one more day. The seemingly harmless just this once. The silent lowering of standards so you don't have to feel discomfort. These tiny surrenders, invisible in the moment, slowly weave a life of lost potential. Not because you weren't capable, but because you weren't consistent. Excellence isn't something you achieve and check off a list. It's something you live every day, every decision, every moment. Mastery doesn't arrive at a finish line. It reveals itself in your commitment to never stop climbing. And the greatest rewards? They belong to those who fall in love with the process, who show up when it's hard, who stay when it gets quiet, who do the work, not just for the outcome, but for who they become by doing it. The real question isn't whether you already possess everything needed to succeed in some spectacular fashion today. It's whether you have the patience and perseverance to stack small wins, day after day, until those tiny victories quietly compound into something unstoppable. Are you willing to become that person who shows up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one's watching, and when motivation has long since disappeared? If your answer is yes, then understand this. Your success is no longer a matter of chance. It's only a matter of time. And as you move forward, you must remember this truth. Emotions are powerful, but they are not your master. They're meant to serve you, not command you. It's perfectly human to feel fear, to feel doubt, to feel the heavy weight of frustration pressing on your shoulders. But feeling something is not the same as surrendering to it. Every meaningful pursuit will stir emotional resistance. That's part of the process. But discipline and focus demand that you take charge of your inner world. Imagine a commander who retreats every time anxiety rises. Imagine a visionary who gives up every time discomfort appears. That's not leadership. That's self-sabotage dressed as sensitivity. True achievement belongs to those who keep moving forward, even when their heart is pounding, their hands are trembling, and their mind is filled with uncertainty. Thomas Edison didn't feel a surge of excitement after his 10,000th failure. He pressed on because he chose commitment over comfort. He decided that the outcome mattered more than how he felt in the moment. So ask yourself, will you let a passing emotion derail your long-term vision? Will a bad day rewrite your mission? Or will you use even your lowest moments as raw fuel to power your next step? We live in a culture that increasingly treats emotional ease as sacred. Follow your heart. Do what feels good. If it doesn't spark joy, walk away. These mantras may sound wise, even compassionate, but they can quietly sabotage your progress if taken as doctrine. They imply that discomfort is something to flee rather than something to work through. But the masters, the true craftsmen of any field, know better. They've walked through emotional deserts where motivation was nowhere to be found, where joy was distant, and yet they still showed up. Why? Because they understood that excellence demands more than enthusiasm. It demands resolve. They didn't ask their feelings for permission to continue. They led themselves forward, because the path to greatness isn't lined with comfort. It's carved through discomfort. The writer stares down the blank page, heart pounding with uncertainty. The entrepreneur steps into the unknown, unsure of whether the next move will lead to triumph or failure. The athlete pushes through aching limbs and the mental wall of fatigue. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary isn't the absence of fear, discomfort, or doubt. It's the refusal to be controlled by them. Emotions are ancient messengers, shaped by evolution to alert us, not to rule us. They are signals, not mandates. Fear may whisper of danger, but that doesn't mean you must retreat. Discomfort may highlight the edge of your comfort zone, but that's often exactly where your growth begins. Resistance shows up most when the work matters deeply, but it's not a stop sign. It's often the signpost pointing toward your next breakthrough. What if you viewed every negative emotion not as an enemy, but as data, as a temporary indicator, not a permanent identity? The truth is, emotions are like weather systems in the mind, powerful in the moment, but always passing. What feels overwhelming now, frustration, doubt, fear, can vanish with a shift in focus, a bit of progress, or simply the passage of time. Those who build their lives based on fleeting emotional states risk constructing their future on unstable foundations. But those who act from principle rather than mood are unshakable. Emotional mastery isn't about ignoring or suppressing what you feel. It's about developing sovereignty, choosing your response, even while acknowledging your inner state. The Stoics had it right. It's not about emotional numbness. It's about emotional leadership. Feel the fear, yes. Recognize the doubt. Acknowledge the frustration. But then, move forward anyway. Let your mission lead, not your momentary mood. There's a powerful paradox at the heart of achievement. The very emotions we chase, motivation, confidence, fulfillment, often come after the hard work, not before. Motivation is more often a consequence of action than its cause. Confidence is born not from comfort, but from confronting the uncomfortable and pushing through it. So where do these feelings come from? They grow from focus, and focus is a choice. When you fixate on threats, your mind breeds anxiety. But when you focus on purpose, on progress, no matter how small, you cultivate power, resilience, and momentum. When you dwell on past mistakes, regret takes root and begins to spread like wildfire. But when you shift your focus toward what's possible, the rewards ahead, the opportunities waiting, motivation starts to rise. This simple shift in focus holds incredible power. It grants you the ability to shape your emotional landscape, to train your internal state, to support your goals instead of sabotage them. Yet in today's world, we've been conditioned to chase constant emotional comfort. We've been taught that if something feels difficult or uncomfortable, it must be avoided. But this mindset, while tempting, comes at a steep price. It creates generations of people who choose ease over excellence, comfort over commitment. Look at the stories of history's greats. Scientists who changed the course of knowledge, artists who redefined creativity, leaders who moved nations. They all shared one thing: the capacity to endure emotional discomfort in the pursuit of something greater. They didn't avoid hard feelings. They accepted them as the price of meaningful impact. Your legacy won't be shaped by how often you felt good. It will be shaped by how often you acted in alignment with your values, especially when it was hard. Your greatest impact won't arise from emotional ease. It will come from emotional courage. The courage to keep going when doubt is loud, when fear tries to paralyze, when comfort seduces you into retreat. So the question is never if emotional resistance will show up on your journey toward greatness. It will. The real question is, will your emotions become your masters, pulling you off course? Or will they serve you, fueling insight and energy for the path ahead? That choice is always yours, even when it doesn't feel like it. Remember, commit first, perfect later. Waiting until you feel ready or the timing feels ideal is often just procrastination in disguise. Champions don't wait for conditions to align. They make the leap and adapt as they go. When Henry Ford began working on the automobile, he didn't have every detail worked out. But he had belief, he had courage, and he had relentless focus. You don't need a perfect plan to begin. You need a decision that refuses to back down. Perfection may always remain just out of reach, but commitment gives you a foundation to stand on. So ask yourself, are you holding back your dream, hoping for the right time? Or will you move forward boldly, adjusting your direction as you go? Because progress, real, lasting momentum, favors the ones who are brave enough to begin. The graveyard of unrealized potential is filled with brilliant ideas that never left the safety of the planning stage. Don't let your dream be buried there. So many dreams remain untouched, mapped out in perfect detail, yet never set in motion. Talents are carefully cultivated behind closed doors, yet never given the chance to be tested in the real world. What holds these masterpieces hostage isn't a lack of ability. It's the paralyzing illusion that everything must be perfect before anything can begin. But here's the truth. Clarity isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a result of it. The writer doesn't fully understand the story by sitting and thinking about it. They discover it line by line, word by word, in the act of writing. The entrepreneur doesn't stumble upon the perfect business model by drafting endless plans in isolation. They refine it through real feedback from real people in real time. The artist doesn't find their voice by theorizing about art. They find it by creating, sharing, revising. This principle isn't limited to creativity. It's the same in every arena of life. Relationships aren't deepened by waiting until you're the perfect partner. They evolve through connection, vulnerability, and time. Your health won't transform through research alone. It transforms through the simple, steady act of movement. Growth is never the result of knowing everything before starting. It's built through showing up, practicing, learning, adjusting, day after day. Perfectionism often wears a clever disguise. It pretends to be high standards. But at its core, it's fear. Fear of not measuring up. Fear of criticism. Fear that if you try and fail, you'll confirm your deepest doubt that you're not enough. So instead, you plan endlessly. You rehearse mentally. You wait. And in that waiting, your dream slowly fades. When you insist on perfection before action, you set an unreachable bar that guarantees paralysis. You think you're protecting your ambition, but you're actually burying it. Ironically, by demanding the flawless path, you secure the most imperfect outcome of all, never even starting. But embracing commitment before perfection doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It doesn't mean being reckless or careless. It means accepting that true excellence is built, not born. It emerges through repetition, through mistakes, through course correction. It's the outcome of relentless action refined over time, not a starting requirement. So, the next time you feel tempted to wait until everything is just right, remember, the pursuit of greatness begins when you decide to move, not when everything is certain. Start messy. Start unsure. Start anyway, because progress only happens when you do. The power of committing first lies in what it unlocks, two forces that shape every remarkable journey: momentum and feedback. Once you begin moving, even imperfectly, you tap into momentum, the invisible current that helps carry you through resistance. It builds energy with each step forward, allowing you to overcome inertia and build confidence not from theory, but from experience. At the same time, action invites feedback, real, tangible insight that no amount of sitting, planning, or perfecting could ever fully anticipate. It gives you something invaluable: direction and motion. You learn not just what works, but why it works. And that knowledge, earned, not imagined, helps refine your next step with clarity. The hard truth? Most skills and achievements that are truly worth pursuing come with a learning curve that preparation alone cannot flatten. You can't reason your way to mastery. You can't study your way to excellence. You must do. You must risk. You must show up again and again, even when you feel unprepared. The violinist doesn't earn calluses by reading about music. They earn them by practicing daily, through friction and failure. The speaker doesn't find their voice in silence. They find it by standing in front of others, voice shaking at first. The leader becomes effective not by waiting to be flawless, but by stepping forward, making decisions, and learning from the weight of responsibility. Here's the paradox. The people who demand perfection before they begin rarely cross the threshold into greatness. They're too busy polishing the plan to ever take the first step. Meanwhile, those who dare to start, clumsy, unsure, exposed, are the ones who often rise to levels of excellence the perfectionist never touches. Why? Because growth requires contact with discomfort. It demands exposure to mistakes, uncertainty, and change, the very things that perfectionism tries to protect us from. But what if the very friction you fear is the fire that forges your strength? Your future doesn't need a flawless blueprint. It needs bold movement. It needs your willingness to show up, to try, to stumble, to adapt, without losing sight of the bigger vision. It needs your courage to face uncertainty, your patience to gather real feedback, and your resolve to keep going when perfection proves elusive. Perfection isn't the requirement for beginning. It's the reward for those who have the grit to begin before they feel ready and the discipline to refine along the way. So the real question isn't whether you have all the answers, all the tools, or the perfect timing. You likely don't, and that's okay. The real question is this: do you have the courage to begin while the path is still unclear? While doubts remain? While you're still becoming the person who can handle what lies ahead? Because action, not readiness, is what makes the journey possible and eventually worthwhile. Will you keep waiting for those perfect conditions that never seem to arrive? Or will you take the first step and generate the momentum that ultimately transforms not just your circumstances, but you? The truth is, your identity is the compass that directs your focus. You act in alignment with the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you believe deep down that you're undisciplined, unfocused, or undeserving, your actions will quietly, almost invisibly, align with that belief. You'll find subtle ways to delay, to distract, to derail your own progress. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who is focused, determined, and capable of greatness, then something shifts. Your behavior starts to reflect that belief. Because identity, more than motivation or tactics, drives consistent behavior. As Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." So ask yourself, who are you choosing to be? Each day, with every small decision, you reinforce your identity. Every workout you complete, every hour you focus, every temptation you resist, it's not just discipline, it's evidence. You're feeding the identity of a champion. But every excuse you accept, every shortcut you take, every goal you abandon, that's feeding a different identity entirely. The identity of someone who quits when it gets hard. Which one are you building? Success isn't about adding more to your to-do list. It's about becoming more. It's about aligning your inner story with the outer results you desire. Are you willing to become the person your dream demands you to be? Most people try to achieve success backward. They focus solely on changing actions and chasing outcomes, ignoring the deeper root. Identity. But without shifting who you believe yourself to be, change remains temporary at best. That's why so many transformations don't last. Changing your behavior without changing your identity is like painting over rust. It looks better for a moment, but the corrosion underneath eventually resurfaces. Your brain is always looking for harmony between your actions and your self-concept. When your efforts conflict with your inner identity, you feel it. That friction can either push you to evolve, or more often, cause you to retreat into familiar patterns. That's why self-sabotage so often strikes right when progress begins to show. Because your results have grown faster than your sense of self. Just consider the difference in how two phrases land within your mind. I'm trying to quit smoking versus I'm not a smoker. Or I'm working on being more disciplined compared to I am disciplined. One sounds like struggle. The other sounds like truth. One fights against identity. The other flows from it. So, what identity are you reinforcing today? And more importantly, who do you need to become in order to build the future you truly desire? Think about the difference between saying, I want to write a book, and declaring, I am a writer. The first phrase treats the behavior as something separate from who you are, an external goal you hope to reach someday. The second embeds the behavior into your identity. It's no longer something you occasionally do. It's who you are at your core. That's the power of identity-based focus. It builds an internal compass, a guiding force that doesn't rely on constant willpower or fleeting bursts of motivation. The runner doesn't need to feel inspired to lace up their shoes. Running is simply part of who they are. The entrepreneur doesn't need someone to push them to solve problems. They seek out challenges because that's what entrepreneurs do. The artist doesn't sit around waiting for the perfect idea to strike. Creation flows from identity, not from circumstance. Your current identity didn't appear overnight. It was shaped slowly, subtly, through thousands of small decisions, through external feedback, and through the meanings you attach to your past experiences. But here's the liberating truth. Your identity is not set in stone. It is not a sentence passed down from the past. It's a living, breathing narrative, a story you've been telling yourself about yourself. And just like any story, it can be rewritten. The shift begins with language. Pay attention to how you complete the sentence. I am. Those two simple words are more powerful than we often realize. They act like a frame around your potential. So, what are you placing within that frame? When you say, I am consistent, or I am focused, even before the results fully show it, you're expanding your capacity to live in alignment with that truth. You're stretching the boundaries of what you believe is possible. But when you tell yourself, I am lazy, or I am disorganized, you reinforce invisible limits that often have no factual basis, just outdated interpretations of past failures. The process is twofold. Your actions reinforce your identity, and your identity, in turn, influences your future actions. This feedback loop either pulls you downward or lifts you higher. If you repeatedly act in ways that align with an empowering identity, that identity becomes stronger. And with it, so does your focus, your confidence, and your ability to stay committed. So, what identity are you choosing to live from today? Are you reinforcing a self-image that supports your growth or one that restricts it? Are you crafting a narrative that lifts you toward your goals or traps you in patterns that no longer serve you? Because in the end, the story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. Small wins, when aligned with the identity you aspire to, do more than boost momentum. They reinforce your self-conception, solidifying the belief that this is who you are now. With every disciplined decision, with each moment you choose consistency over comfort, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. It's not just about isolated actions. It's about reinforcing an evolving identity that supports your highest goals. And here's the truth. Some of the most powerful and lasting identity shifts don't happen in isolation. They're accelerated by your environment, especially the people around you. When you surround yourself with individuals who already embody the kind of character, habits, and mindset you aim to adopt, something powerful happens. You begin to absorb their language, their expectations, their sense of what's normal. Their standard becomes your baseline. Their discipline becomes contagious. Their belief in what's possible quietly redefines your own ceiling. This is how real transformation begins, not merely by hitting external milestones, but by gradually altering how you see yourself. True change isn't just about the achievement. It's about the evolution of identity that sustains those achievements long after the initial goal has been met. Losing weight, for example, might be a short-term victory, but becoming someone who honors their body and prioritizes health, that's lasting change. Starting a business might get you recognition or income, but becoming the kind of person who consistently creates value and adapts through adversity, that's what endures. So the real question isn't just what do you want to achieve? It's deeper. Who must you become so that achieving those things becomes natural, almost inevitable? Are you willing to shed the outdated self-concepts, the limiting labels, the internal stories that no longer align with your higher vision? Can you begin to live as that version of yourself now? Even if the external results haven't caught up yet, because your focus doesn't just reflect your identity, it follows it. And every single day, with every decision, you're voting for the type of person you're choosing to be. Each choice either builds you up or breaks you down. Each moment is construction. Either you're laying a bridge to your dreams, brick by brick, or you're erecting walls that keep your potential locked away. When you resist distraction and stay aligned with your purpose, you're strengthening your foundation. But when you give in to excuses, you begin to erode it. What structure are you building today with your choices? Nothing in your life is neutral. Every decision, no matter how small it seems in the moment, contributes to the larger direction of your journey. Each yes or no, whether conscious or unconscious, accumulates over time into the story you live. The real question is, Are you choosing actions today that your future self will thank you for, or ones that your future self might resent? Your true character isn't defined when the spotlight is on you. It's revealed in those quiet, solitary moments when no one else is watching. Will you still show up? Will you still make the hard choice to follow through? Even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unnoticed? Life doesn't pause. It never waits for perfect timing or easier conditions. And neither do you. With every passing moment, you're either moving closer to your highest potential or slowly drifting away from it. You're either sharpening your edge or letting it dull. There is no standing still, no invisible middle ground where choices don't count. That's the great illusion, the belief that just this once won't matter. But history is full of dreams that died, not from dramatic collapse, but from subtle, repeated compromises. Imagine this. If you committed to just one small, intentional action every single day, choosing to read something insightful instead of gossiping, creating something meaningful instead of mindlessly consuming, reaching out instead of retreating, you would accumulate 365 moments of self-investment in a year. That's 365 bricks laid in the foundation of your future. But if, on the other hand, you allow one small compromise each day, those 365 missed chances silently widen the gap between who you are and who you could have been. Over time, it becomes a canyon, wide and hard to cross. Not because of failure, but because of daily inattention. Here's the trap. Most people wildly overestimate what they can accomplish in a single day and drastically underestimate what consistent effort can achieve over a year. That mental distortion causes them to oscillate between bursts of unrealistic ambition and periods of unnecessary disappointment. They miss the steady, sustainable path, the one where real, lasting change quietly happens. Progress rarely looks dramatic, but is always happening. The question is, in which direction are you currently compounding? The true power of choice often reveals itself in the quiet moments, the ones no one else will ever witness. It's the workout you complete even though no trainer is tracking your reps. It's the late-night project progress when no deadline pressures you. It's a decision to say no to temptation, not because anyone is watching, but because you know who you're becoming. These seemingly small, invisible victories often go unnoticed by the world. But make no mistake, they're the silent architects of your character and future capacity. Every single decision you make carries a cost. There are only two prices in life: the price of discipline and the price of regret. Discipline is paid in small, manageable installments, moments of discomfort, effort, and focus. Regret, on the other hand, arrives later, weighed down by lost time, missed opportunity, and dreams deferred. And it never arrives alone. It brings interest. The painful truth? Most people choose to dodge the price of discipline now, only to be crushed by the weight of regret later. And by the time the invoice comes due, it's often too late to reverse the damage. Your real priorities aren't written in your journal or proclaimed in your resolutions. They're reflected in your behavior, especially when no one is keeping score. You say health matters, but you skip movement for comfort. You say creativity matters, but your calendar says otherwise. Actions don't lie. They reveal the truth your words try to decorate. What's more dangerous than blatant neglect? It's the seemingly harmless compromises disguised as logic. Just this once is rarely once. I deserve a break quickly becomes routine. I'll start tomorrow turns into an endless loop of delay. These quiet rationalizations form the subtle vocabulary of surrender. And over time, they build a sturdy prison out of excuses, one that traps potential behind a wall of good intentions. With every choice, you are wiring your brain for future behavior. When you choose focus over distraction, even once, you make that choice more natural the next time. When you surrender to the easy option, you deepen that groove. Slowly, silently, you're becoming someone not in theory, but in practice. So ask yourself honestly, are the decisions you're making today building the life you dream of, or quietly dismantling it, one tiny compromise at a time? Perhaps the most profound truth of all is this: your choices don't just shape your life, they echo into the lives of those around you. Think about it. Your children watch more than they listen. They absorb your actions, not your advice. Your colleagues quietly observe the standards you live by, adjusting their own expectations accordingly. Your friends, whether they admit it or not, are either inspired to rise or silently permitted to settle by the example you set. Your personal decisions, made in private moments, ripple outward in ways you may never fully realize. You're always leading someone, whether intentionally or not. So the question isn't just what you want for yourself. Most people desire similar things: health, joy, fulfillment, success. That's not the differentiator. The real question is, what will you choose when your desire meets resistance? Will you take the path that builds your character, even when it burns? Or will you retreat to what soothes you, even when it slowly erodes who you could become? These are the defining crossroads of every life. And in these moments, remember, whether you recognize it or not, you are always under construction. Every choice is laying bricks in the structure of your future self. So choose with intention. Choose with the awareness that your actions cast shadows longer than your lifetime. And never underestimate the power of patience. Real patience isn't passive. It's power harnessed with discipline. It's not about waiting around. It's about waiting with purpose. Focused individuals know that anything truly great takes time. No one rushes an acorn to become an oak tree. Why would you rush your own growth? Dreams, like nature, follow the rhythm of seasons. They must be nurtured consistently, watered with faith, nourished with disciplined effort, pruned with sacrifice, and protected with persistence. Impatience is the great destroyer of potential. It digs up seeds before they sprout, killing the harvest in its infancy. Imagine a farmer, anxious to see progress, digging up his crop each day. The result? No harvest at all. Trust the unseen work. Growth happens underground, within your habits, your thoughts, your choices, long before it blooms into visible results. The question is not simply, are you working, but are you patient enough to keep working while nothing seems to happen? In a culture that worships speed and instant gratification, patience is often misunderstood. It's seen as weakness, as complacency, as lack of ambition. But the truth is, patience is one of the greatest forms of power because it is strength under control. Nothing could be further from the truth. The most powerful force in real achievement isn't frantic motion or constant hustle. It's sustained direction, the quiet, consistent alignment of energy toward a long-term purpose. It's the ability to maintain focus not just during moments of excitement or momentum, but through the inevitable plateaus, setbacks, and long, silent waiting periods that define every meaningful journey. Consider the Japanese bamboo farmer. For 4 years, he tends to what appears to be barren soil. Every single day, he waters it. He fertilizes it. He protects it from pests. To the outside observer, it seems like nothing is happening, just empty ground. But then, in the 5th year, something astonishing takes place. The bamboo shoots up an incredible 90 feet in just 6 short weeks. So, ask yourself, did that bamboo grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer lies beneath the surface. The wise understand that it was the years of invisible growth, the unseen root system developing underground, that made the sudden surge possible. The miracle didn't happen overnight. It was simply revealed overnight. Impatience is the silent saboteur of success. It rushes the process, demanding visible results before the natural rhythm of growth has had a chance to mature. It insists on proof before progress. It pushes for outcomes before the foundation is ready to support them. As a result, the impatient person often ends up working harder, not smarter, constantly switching directions, restarting projects, chasing the next quick win, only to find themselves perpetually at the beginning. Meanwhile, those who master their craft understand that true progress is almost never linear. It moves in cycles. It bursts forward, then slows. It leaps, then levels out. And it's in those quiet plateaus where outward results seem to pause that many give up. But the patient ones know better. They keep showing up. They keep investing. They understand that integration must often precede expansion. That stillness is not always stagnation. Sometimes what looks like a lull is actually your inner world realigning, preparing for the next breakthrough. And when it comes, it may look sudden to others, but you'll know it's been building all along. Patient power reveals itself in the quiet strength to delay gratification, to consciously choose the greater, later reward over the lesser, immediate pleasure. This ability, time and again, has proven to be one of the strongest predictors of long-term success, surpassing even raw intelligence or innate talent. Those who cultivate focus understand this deeply. They trade the fleeting high of distraction for the lasting fulfillment that comes only from real accomplishment. True patience is not passive. It's not simply waiting for something to magically happen. Rather, it's the intentional act of maintaining direction while something meaningful takes shape. It's the athlete who keeps training even when progress feels stagnant. It's the entrepreneur who keeps refining their offer through quiet months of zero profit. It's the artist who keeps showing up at the canvas, polishing their craft, even when no one applauds. This kind of patience, persistence without immediate reward, builds character in ways that fleeting victories never can. It forges the inner steel required to carry your mission through storms and silence. The paradox of progress is that rushing often slows you down, while patience, steady and committed, accelerates your path forward. Think of the runner who sprints too hard at the start and burns out before the finish line, or the investor who insists on instant returns and makes rash decisions, only to sabotage long-term gains, or the builder who cuts corners during foundational work, only to watch the structure collapse under pressure. Each example reveals the cost of impatience. Patient power means learning to align your pace with a natural rhythm of the process, rather than imposing unrealistic deadlines driven by ego or anxiety. Whether in relationships, in developing a skill, in launching a business, or in building a meaningful life, this ability to hold steady through delays and uncertainty becomes a rare and powerful edge. So the real question is, can you trust the process long enough to let the process transform you? The real test of patience doesn't arrive when everything is calm and easy. It comes when the waiting turns uncomfortable, when silence stretches too long, when doubt creeps in and whispers, maybe nothing's working, when well-meaning voices begin to question your path, when the world seems to reward the louder, flashier, more superficial efforts while yours go unnoticed. It's in these moments that your patience is exposed, revealing whether it's rooted in genuine conviction or merely in comfort. The real question isn't simply whether you can wait. It's whether you can keep working while you wait. Can you continue to show up, to put in the effort, to water the soil, even when it looks like nothing is sprouting? Can you trust the process when results remain invisible and validation is nowhere in sight? Can you stay focused when feedback is delayed, when progress feels like it's moving at a crawl? If the answer is yes, then what you possess isn't passivity. It's strength and restraint. It's not waiting in weakness, but patience transformed into power under control. This is the kind of patience that produces uncommon results, the kind that separates those who endure from those who disappear. Obstacles, too, are part of the journey, but they're not stop signs. They're signals, asking not if, but how badly you want this. Every dream worth pursuing will test your resolve with its own unique blend of resistance. Physical, emotional, financial, relational. But those challenges are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to develop you. Obstacles don't define your destiny. They refine your character. They strip away the unnecessary and reveal what you're really made of. Helen Keller didn't let deafness or blindness limit her vision. She chose to see with the eyes of purpose. And you? Will you allow a single setback to convince you that you're defeated? Or will you rise again, fueled by the very resistance meant to stop you? Strength isn't born from ease. It's built in the struggle. The path to anything worthwhile isn't lined with shortcuts or smooth highways. It winds through valleys of difficulty and climbs steep hills of challenge. The only question left is, will you keep walking? This isn't some unfortunate twist of fate. It's a necessary part of the design. Just as muscles need resistance to grow stronger, your character and your capabilities require challenges to develop fully. The obstacle isn't a detour from your path. It is the path. It's not an interruption to progress. It's the very instrument that shapes you for what lies ahead. Yet, how often do we misread this resistance? The moment things get difficult, we start to question ourselves. Should it really be this hard? Maybe this isn't meant for me. That single thought has derailed more dreams than failure ever could. So many people turn back just steps before a breakthrough, mistaking the weight of struggle for a sign that they've taken the wrong direction. But struggle doesn't always signal rejection. It's often an invitation to grow, to stretch beyond your current limits, to become someone more. Obstacles, when seen clearly, serve a powerful purpose. They are not vague signals of misfortune. They are diagnostic tools, precisely identifying where your development is needed most. That anxiety-inducing presentation, it's not just a test. It's pointing directly at the communication skills you've yet to master. That business challenge that has you stuck, it's revealing the gap in your strategic thinking. The repeated tension in a relationship, it's illuminating emotional patterns that still need healing or growth. In this light, obstacles stop being enemies and become teachers, specific, targeted, and often uncomfortably accurate. They expose what must be strengthened next. They reveal not your failure, but your potential still waiting to be sharpened. And resistance does something else too. It authenticates. It acts as nature's filter, separating those who are merely curious from those who are truly committed. It distinguishes the tourists from the residents of your dream. Anyone can say they want success when the path is smooth. But who keeps walking when the road becomes steep and uncertain? Only those with a deeper conviction. Those who are not just interested but invested. In this way, every obstacle you face becomes part of your credentials. They aren't signs that you're not enough. They are proof that you earned every inch of your progress. They show the world, and more importantly, they show you that your growth wasn't handed to you. It was carved from resistance. The real danger isn't in the obstacle itself. It's in the meaning you assign to it. If you see it as proof that you're not cut out for the challenge, or that the universe is against you, you'll feed despair instead of determination. But what if, instead, you saw each challenge as confirmation that you are exactly where growth begins? When you begin to see challenges not as threats, but as catalysts for growth and mechanisms for clarity, everything changes. These very same hardships become the fuel that generates perseverance. It's remarkable how the same situation can lead to radically different outcomes, simply based on the story you choose to believe about it. That narrative becomes the lens through which your progress either accelerates or stalls. Almost every meaningful transformation follows a familiar path, an initial burst of motivation, followed by unanticipated resistance, which eventually leads to a critical turning point, the decision to continue despite discomfort or to retreat into safety. That uncomfortable in-between, the messy middle, is where most destinies are decided. It's not the beginning or the end, but this uncertain stretch that separates the dreamers from the doers. Those who anticipated the struggle, who embraced it as an essential part of the process, find the strength to keep moving. But those who expected a smooth ride often feel betrayed when difficulty appears and they retreat. That's when dreams are quietly buried, not by failure, but by unmet expectations. Yet every time you push forward, even when you have every excuse to give up, you send a powerful message to yourself. Your commitment is not conditional. This is how real confidence is born, not from constant success, but from consistent persistence. It's in showing up when it would be easier to disappear. This evolving relationship with yourself becomes your strongest advantage. You begin to trust your own word, to believe in your ability to follow through, no matter what the outside world throws at you. Obstacles also act as truth revealers. When resistance appears, superficial desires fall away. Only goals rooted in real purpose will withstand pressure. And in those moments, you're forced to dig deeper, to articulate why this dream matters beyond temporary gratification. That's where you uncover hidden reservoirs of grit you never knew you had. Because the real question isn't whether you'll face setbacks. You absolutely will. The real question is, how will you interpret them? Will you treat them as barricades meant to block you? Or will you see them as bridges, as signposts reminding you that you're heading in the right direction? The meaning you assign to hardship could be the most powerful factor in your success. Choose that meaning wisely. Protect your vision. Defend your priorities with intention. Make the conscious decision to channel your time, your energy, and your attention into what truly matters. Silence the noise. Clear the mental clutter. Tune back into the mission written on your heart. Because your future isn't built in some distant tomorrow. It's constructed through the decisions you make today, in this very moment. Wishing you strength, clarity, and unwavering focus. Stay healthy, stay inspired, and don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more empowering content like this.